makes that person as irrelevant as people say I am in hip hop. Yeah. I make them bigger by getting into this thing where I'm like, I want to destroy him, but I also don't want to make.
When I knew Eminem was real, he's like, I don't give a f, man. This is when I knew. I'm like, damn, Eminem is a real. These niggas.
I called it Diddy, really? Yeah. I got Diddy's number. Just hit him up. Yo, Diddy, what up?
Eminem's impact on hip-hop is unmatched. No other rapper in the genre has left behind such a long trail of shaken rivals, fractured careers, and lyrical casualties. When people talk about dominance in rap, Eminem's name sits at the very top of that conversation. With more than 224 million records sold worldwide, this isn't just commercial success, this is total control of the landscape. Eminem isn't simply one of the best-selling rappers of all time.
I hate Eminem. I don't know him to hate him. I don't hate white people. Tired of this shit, man. It's just too much. I don't want to be the bad guy. I got an 8-year-old son that I dropped off at school this morning. Come on, man. Come on, man. I'm all right. All me and Eminem got to do is sit down and talk with each other. Let's sit down.
Over the years, he's built a reputation as one of the most feared, unpredictable, and relentless lyricists to ever touch a microphone. From the beginning, his approach has always felt aggressive, calculated, and uncompromising. Every verse sounds like a challenge. Every track feels like a warning. And even recently, Eminem reminded the industry of that reputation when he took sharp lyrical shots at Kanye West on J.I.D.'s track Animals. He rarely misses, and that consistency is exactly what makes him dangerous. But the real question isn't whether Eminem can dominate a song.
Shady, why not? Shady.
The real question is how many artists felt the full force of his lyrical attacks over the years. How many careers were permanently altered after crossing paths with him? That's what this story is about. Which rap group did a young, unknown Eminem believe treated him unfairly early on?
You got in the business with Eminem, right? Did he discover you or something?
What happened when other artists took shots at his personal life? And how did those moments completely backfire? There's also the reaction of one of the most controversial political figures in recent history after Eminem publicly called her out on one of his latest projects. By digging through Eminem's catalog, from his earliest underground recordings to his most recent releases, a clear pattern emerges. His pen has consistently reshaped careers, exposed weaknesses, and ended arguments before they even started.
Ready. I guess not.
The question becomes unavoidable. Does Slim Shady truly have more enemies than anyone else in hip-hop? And looming behind all of this is one rivalry that refuses to fade. Eminem's long-running fixation on Sean Diddy Combs has raised eyebrows for years. Now, with controversy surrounding Diddy dominating headlines, many are asking what Eminem's next move might be and why this tension never truly disappeared. Things are escalating fast. One of Eminem's earliest conflicts actually began long before the mainstream ever knew his name. Back in 1995, Eminem was still completely underground. He was broke, unknown, and struggling to survive in Detroit. He hadn't released a studio album yet, and he was juggling life as a young father, trying to support his daughter, Haley, while living well below the poverty line. That pressure created hunger, and that hunger pushed Eminem to promote himself in bold, risky ways. Determined to get attention, he decided to throw his own show. He printed flyers himself and hyped the event aggressively. But here's where things went sideways. On those flyers, Eminem hinted that Insane Clown Posse, a well-known Detroit rap duo, might make a surprise appearance. There was one major problem. Eminem never got permission to use their name. When Insane Clown Posse saw the flyers, they weren't amused. They immediately confronted Eminem and told him to keep their name out of his promotions. At the time, they likely believed they were shutting down an unknown local rapper trying to gain attention. What they didn't realize was that the person they brushed aside would later become one of the most dominant forces hip-hop has ever seen. That tension didn't disappear. Years later, the situation escalated far beyond words. In June of 2000, an incident involving Eminem and someone connected to Insane Clown Posse added fuel to an already heated conflict. While the situation didn't result in serious harm, it cemented a grudge that Eminem would never let go. Eminem later addressed the feud directly on his self-titled track, Marshall Mathers. He openly mocked Insane Clown Posse's image, their face paint, and their connection to Detroit. His lyrics painted them as outsiders trying to claim a city they didn't truly represent. The insults were relentless, sarcastic, and humiliating. Those bars didn't just sting, they shifted public perception. While Insane Clown Posse still maintained a loyal fan base, Eminem's attacks damaged their mainstream credibility. Almost overnight, they went from respected regional figures to industry punchlines. For Eminem, it was personal. Publicly embarrassing them was his way of closing that chapter permanently. And that was only the beginning. As Eminem's fame exploded, he made it clear he wasn't interested in playing industry politics or protecting powerful figures. That mindset pulled him into one of the most infamous feuds in rap history, his war with Benzino, co-owner of The Source magazine. At the time, The Source wasn't just a publication, it was the most influential voice in hip-hop culture. Its ratings shaped careers, its opinions defined legacies. A perfect 5-mic review could instantly crown an album as a classic. So, when Eminem's 2002 album, The Eminem Show, received 4 mics instead of 5, most artists would have celebrated. Eminem didn't. He took it personally. Eminem believed the rating wasn't about music. He believed it was about bias. He accused Benzino and The Source of holding his race against him in a genre dominated by black artists. That accusation turned quiet tension into open warfare. Benzino fired back, dismissing Eminem as an industry product rather than a genuine rebel. He publicly questioned Eminem's authenticity and accused him of benefiting from an image crafted by the machine behind him. Those comments landed hard, and the feud went nuclear. From that point forward, Eminem unleashed a barrage of diss tracks. He targeted Benzino's stalled music career, questioned his leadership, and accused him of abusing his power at The Source. On The Sauce, Eminem alleged that Benzino manipulated magazine ratings to promote his own work. The situation spiraled fast. What followed became one of the most brutal lyrical feuds hip-hop has ever seen. Eminem's diss records weren't subtle. They were personal, cutting, and relentless. He mocked Benzino's age, his credibility, and his standing in the culture. Each verse escalated the tension further, pushing the conflict beyond repair. But these songs weren't just insults. Eminem used them to defend his place in hip-hop. When Benzino questioned whether Eminem deserved respect, Eminem responded by reminding listeners of his real-world struggles, his legal battles, and the reality he came from. He wasn't pretending, and he wasn't backing down on Pin Down Dude. Then came the moment that completely ended Benzino's rap ambitions. This was the turning point, the lyrical strike that shut the door for good. Eminem laid it all out with chilling confidence, telling him he would never experience real security, never reach true fame, and never understand what real wealth feels like. He closed it with a line that felt final, almost cruel in its certainty, addressing him directly by name and making it clear that the outcome was already decided. What made that moment so unsettling was how accurate it turned out to be. Within a year of their feud reaching its peak, everything Eminem predicted began unfolding in real life. The Source magazine became overwhelmed with legal trouble, including a massive, high-profile harassment lawsuit that targeted Benzino personally. Suddenly, Nail in the Coffin wasn't just a diss record, it felt like a forecast. The chaos that followed was unavoidable. Benzino's influence collapsed rapidly. He was forced out of The Source, the very platform that once gave him power in hip-hop culture. Any remaining momentum he had as a rapper disappeared entirely. The man who once held one of the most influential positions in hip-hop media was reduced to a cautionary tale. Eminem didn't simply defeat him in a lyrical exchange. He dismantled his entire public image piece by piece. even more unsettling is how another line from Nail in the Coffin later played out in real life. Eminem mocked Benzino for attempting to use his child for attention, making it clear that he would never build success by feeding off his son and daughter's name. Years later, that line resurfaced in conversations when Benzino's daughter, Coi Leray, emerged as a successful artist on her own terms. Instead of celebrating her rise, Benzino publicly expressed resentment, and Coi herself accused her father of jealousy and emotional distance. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Eminem's words once again seemed to echo into the future. During a later appearance on Drink Champs, Benzino visibly broke down while reflecting on his long and painful feud with Eminem. The emotional scars were still there, years later. That battle alone reshaped how Benzino is remembered. But Eminem's run of destruction didn't stop there. One of his most aggressive and long-lasting conflicts grew directly from his close alliance with 50 Cent. When Eminem signed Curtis 50 Cent Jackson to Shady Records in 2002, it changed the trajectory of hip-hop overnight. Their partnership became legendary. Multi-platinum albums, blockbuster films, historic performances, and unmatched cultural dominance followed. But loyalty to 50 Cent meant inheriting his enemies. Eminem didn't just support 50 as an executive. He stood beside him publicly and lyrically, ready to engage whenever conflict erupted. That loyalty pulled Eminem straight into one of hip-hop's most volatile rivalries, the ongoing clash between 50 Cent and Ja Rule. At the time, Ja Rule was one of New York's biggest stars, known for massive chart success and crossover appeal. Behind the scenes, though, the tension between him and 50 Cent had already escalated beyond music into real-world confrontations. When Eminem entered the situation, he later claimed he initially attempted to cool things down. But Ja Rule continued escalating the conflict. The breaking point came when Ja released Loose Change, where he crossed a line that couldn't be walked back. Instead of limiting his shots to 50, he dragged Eminem's family into the record. That moment changed everything. From that point forward, restraint was gone. Eminem responded with Haley's Revenge, unleashing a furious lyrical assault that left no room for reconciliation. He painted Ja Rule as an imitation of better artists, stripping away his credibility line by line. The tone was aggressive, chaotic, and unmistakably Slim Shady. Eminem didn't stop there. He followed up with Bully, another direct attack that framed Ja Rule as controlled and manipulated by industry figures, questioning his independence and authenticity. The message was clear. Eminem wasn't just battling an artist, he was tearing down an entire image. Over time, Ja Rule's legacy shifted. Instead of being remembered for his run of hit records, his name became permanently linked to some of hip-hop's most lopsided defeats. Eminem's involvement played a major role in that transformation. His attacks didn't simply stall Ja Rule's momentum, they rewrote how history remembers him. And even after reshaping multiple careers in the early 2000s, Eminem never stopped engaging. Years later, another high-profile clash emerged, this time with Machine Gun Kelly. The conflict began in 2012 after MGK made a reckless public comment involving Eminem's teenage daughter. That single moment crossed a line that couldn't be undone. MGK later claimed that the fallout limited his opportunities across major platforms. Years passed before he finally responded musically with Rap Devil, aiming at Eminem's age, appearance, and relevance. The move was bold, but it triggered a swift response. Eminem's reply, Kill Shot, landed with surgical precision. The record connected MGK's challenge to past rivals, grouping him alongside artists whose careers never recovered. The impact was immediate. Public reaction turned sharply, and MGK's standing within hip-hop shifted overnight. Not long after, MGK moved away from rap entirely, pivoting into pop-punk. While that transition proved commercially successful, the shadow of that lyrical exchange never disappeared. Eminem's words followed him into his new lane. And even now, Eminem hasn't slowed down. In 2024, he once again aimed his pen at one of the most polarizing figures in modern media. The announcement of his album, The Death of Slim Shady Alone, sent shockwaves through the industry, signaling that Eminem doesn't retire from conflict. Nobody expected this angle at all. For years, Candace Owens had existed in a completely different media lane. So when Eminem suddenly aimed at her, it felt completely out of nowhere. Candace has long been criticized for promoting far-right talking points, amplifying controversial narratives, and standing publicly beside Kanye West during moments that sparked massive backlash, including the infamous White Lives Matter shirts. Because of that history, when Eminem targeted her on the track Lucifer, the entire internet paused. People listened closely. Eminem delivered lines filled with layered wordplay, sarcasm, and sharp cultural references, framing Candace as someone aligned with movements that clashed directly with the communities she claims to represent. The bars weren't just insults, they were coded commentary, tying her public image to extremist symbolism and rhetoric that many people already associated with her. The response online was instant and explosive. Eminem didn't stop with one song. He circled back again on Bad One, continuing the theme by portraying Candace as someone who had turned her back on her roots in exchange for influence and attention. It was classic Slim Shady energy, raw, unapologetic, and deliberately provocative. Predictably, Candace responded fast. She fired back online, labeling Eminem an out-of-touch elitist who, in her words, should have retired years ago. She mocked his age, referred to him as Grandpa Shady, and argued that his relevance only existed for people who discovered him as rebellious teenagers. The back and forth instantly became one of the most talked about cultural clashes of the year. What many people didn't realize at first was that this tension didn't start with the death of Slim Shady. Their issues had been brewing long before the album dropped. A year earlier, Eminem had issued a cease and desist letter after political candidate Vivek Ramaswamy used "Lose Yourself" at campaign rallies. Eminem made it clear he didn't want his music associated with political messaging of any kind. Instead of letting it go, Candace jumped in and escalated the situation publicly. She made provocative comments about Eminem's personal life, suggesting rumors that immediately went viral. Whether meant as serious commentary or intentional provocation, the reaction was immediate. Social media exploded, debates ignited, and the situation turned messy fast. Candace later attempted to flip Eminem's lyrical attacks into a broader narrative, releasing statements that framed him as someone disconnected from his original identity. She questioned what happened to the rapper who once spoke about poverty, struggle, and life at the margins. While her logic didn't land with everyone, it kept her name firmly in the headlines. Just when the controversy seemed to peak, Eminem shifted focus again, this time toward one of Candace's longtime allies, Kanye West. Kanye had already been dominating headlines after releasing a song that included a shocking personal confession, sending the internet into disbelief. The moment was chaotic, confusing, and very on-brand for Ye. Eminem didn't ignore it. He referenced the situation with sharp, exaggerated bars that leaned fully into shock value and satire. It was outrageous, deliberately uncomfortable, and unmistakably Slim Shady. But even that wasn't the end. Eminem still had smoke left for another figure whose name has followed him for decades. Sean Diddy Combs. Their tension goes all the way back to Eminem's early career. As far back as 2000, Eminem took wild, over-the-top shots at Diddy on I'm Back, delivering one of the most infamous verses of his career involving Diddy and Jennifer Lopez. At the time, it was dismissed as pure shock humor. Years later, the references didn't stop. In 2018, Eminem mentioned Diddy again on Kill Shot, a diss aimed at Machine Gun Kelly. One specific bar shook the internet because it echoed long-standing conspiracy discussions surrounding Tupac's death. At the time, many assumed Eminem was simply provoking controversy. Then, years passed, and real-world developments caused people to re-examine that line. Suddenly, what once sounded outrageous felt eerily timed. Eminem's reputation for saying things before the culture is ready to hear them resurfaced again. In 2024, following the release of disturbing footage involving Diddy and serious allegations that dominated headlines, Eminem once again leaned directly into the controversy. On a new track, he delivered a single bar packed with layered wordplay that immediately set social media on fire. At first, listeners thought it was playful. Then they caught the omission, the phrasing, and the intention behind it. Fans were stunned. Eminem managed to say everything without saying it outright. One bar was enough. That's what separates Eminem from almost everyone else in the industry. He doesn't need long explanations. He doesn't soften his delivery. And he's one of the very few major artists willing to call out figures as powerful as Diddy publicly. Especially now, when legal outcomes, public opinion, and industry politics are colliding. At this point, people are asking how far Eminem is willing to go next. History shows that when he locks onto a target, it's rarely just one song. And if his attention stays on Diddy, the ripple effect could be massive. Only time will tell what Slim Shady does next, but one thing is guaranteed. When Eminem speaks, the entire culture listens. So make sure you hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, share this with your crew, and subscribe for more deep dives into rap's wildest rivalries, untold stories, and industry drama. You don't want to miss what comes next.